Hello there, guys. Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with my phone. I have to. I have to put up with it. I have to deal with it. So anyway, I am literally waiting for my laptop to working on updates. I have in front of me two bundles here. That bundle there is actually the opposing of the adoption order. That one is my foster care file. That one is my medical file. And this one is the file that has never made it into court. I have another file here somewhere that is the main bundle that took Aaron and Faith, and I can't find it. It is somewhere in here. So I have got paperwork in 2 suitcases, paperwork in boxes, paperwork in files and boxes over there, and then I've got to get it all literally in order, in genealogy in there. But the bugger is, in some of these paperworks, I've taken bits out when I've been trying to use it for evidence, and I've got to try and find everything to put back. But anyway, this is the one that nobody's seen. This is the one that contains all of the evidence that discredited everything that they said. But as I was trying to explain to people, I had literally gone from raising Liam and Daniel securely at university in a 3-bedroom detached house. Yes, I was on Motability. Yes, I was on disability, but I wasn't on bog standard normal benefits. I was a student. I was a university student who got disability support, housing benefit support as a student, and I got student support for council tax. So I wasn't classed as normal benefits. What people don't understand about benefits and going to university is, instead of putting you on benefits and paying for your university as they should do, they don't. They force you to live on your student loan. So I had to access a complete full-blown student loan and bursary to put me through university, and then I got support with housing and council tax. And I got an income support top up from my student loan. Top up. Okay. So that meant that, say they had just put me on benefits and supported me with my student fees, then I wouldn't have ended up with everything to do with my student loan. Now, student loan does not come into enforcement until I earn over so much a year. However, my interest goes up £29 a day. That was the last time I looked, nearly 10 years ago. I have no idea for the last 11 years, other than about 2 weeks ago, I got my letter asking me, what is my employment status? My employment status currently now is single person, universal credit, and I don't get any sick or independent personal payments or anything like that. When I was first ever put on sick, it was what was called severe disability allowance. When government changes the system, it usually keeps people on the old system and new applicants go on the new system. So I remained on SDA for up to maybe 10 years after that never existed, because I remained on the old system. And I was on higher rate DLA and higher rate care because I have the challenges that I do that bridge a gap between what I would functionally do as a normal person to what my condition limits me to do. So if someone said, right, Kelly, I need you to get up now and go and be a teacher at a school, and you have to be up 7, into school by, well, whatever, probably even earlier than that, into school by, say, 8, half past 8, having your lesson plans done, looking after and teaching the children during the day. I couldn't maintain that. I would have to walk around, pass around. One thing, I couldn't stick to something that meant that I had to know what I was doing so many years ahead, because it's very difficult to plan and schedule when you get interrupted. Yeah. And you can get interrupted in your life in any way. So it could just be all of a sudden you're getting on with your life and you're, I don't know, sitting by a pool in Barbados, chilling, watching the sea, just about to go out on your jet ski, and all of a sudden you get a phone call and your dad's just had a heart attack. Bang, everything changes. You've got to drop everything that you were doing in that moment and stop. You've got to be able to stop in that moment and be able to process what has just been said to you and regulate and deal with your emotions, knowing that you are sitting on a beach waiting to go on your jet ski, but you've just received a phone call to say that your father's had a stroke. You haven't even been told whether he's had a stroke and he's in hospital. You haven't been told whether he's had a stroke and he's died. You haven't been told whether or not he's had a stroke and he's fine. All you know is your father's had a stroke. But you're on holiday, on a beach, sitting around, and you have to process that in that particular moment. Most people would go up, go back to their hotel room, make a phone call, ring, assess what's going on, what's going on. Is my dad dead? Is he in hospital? Okay, so he's in hospital. Oh, okay then. So, at that point, your dad's in hospital, he's had a stroke. Do you go back to the beach and go jet skiing while your dad is laying in hospital recovering from a stroke, being that the medical people have already intervened, succeeded with it, he's fine, he's in recovery? So do you carry on jet skiing, or do you get on the next phone call and book a flight to go to your father to be by his hospital bed? When I got to know the people who stepped in for me, Aaron, Faith, Liam and Daniel, if there was ever an emergency, the daughter was going off to India to do a Bible drop, and she was having a passport renewed, and the parents also sort of went and renewed theirs. And I said, oh, okay. They were, well, just in case. I said, just in case what? They went, just in case any problems. And I said, so you would renew your passport for your daughter going away just in case something went wrong, and you would actually get on a plane and go over to your daughter and be there with her. And that concept to me was really hard. I was shocked. I was shocked that a mother and father who had careers, life, home, commitments, would prepare to drop everything they know to be with their daughter. That for me was really difficult. As somebody who grew up as an only child until I was 11, when my dad and current stepmum had my brother, and then my mum with her third husband had my sister when I was 13. So I grazed along as an only child until I was 11, going from living with my dad. So remember, I don't know the first 3 years of my life. I only know my nan's stories, what my mum wants to talk about or doesn't want to talk about or tells me is none of my business. What I've seen on TV interviews, what I've seen in newspaper articles, what I've been told by aunties, cousins and things like that from what they hear. So I've never seen any of the paperwork from my birth to the first thing at 3 says that there was a psychological report done on me when I was 3. So that's in the psychological report. So the psychological report says that there's evidence of psychological assessments being done on me since I was 3. So that is, let me just flick in here. So if you don't know what a psychological report is and you don't understand how the courts and that do that, the can't take it out so far because it's in order, but this is basically a psychological report. So basically, if you ever get a letter or they say they've got cause for concern, the first thing that they will do, or if they ever put you on legal planning, the reason that they put you on legal planning is they have to access the funding for a psychological assessment on you, because the social workers don't know you, the judge doesn't know you. So basically, they have to get somebody who can ask you lots of questions and also get you to sit in front of a screen and answer questions that go on to a DSM-5, which is basically SPS database. I've done this myself. And this letter will basically be sent, and it will say, in this case, it was Dr. Maya Edwards, clinical psychology in Bangor. This is her personal address at her personal home. And this was sent on the 11th of February 2013. So Aaron and Faith were taken on the 13th of December 2012, just as Daniel was being dropped off by Graham. Liam was with me, Aaron and Faith were with me, and we were settling down for the Christmas holidays. I'd just gone and brought some really stupid fucking boots. They were really lovely, but the hill was too high and my ankles were dodgy, and I went back to my old boots, and we were literally focusing on the fact that we were going to be closed in with 10 inches of freaking snow, and we were going to finally get to go snowboarding, and I was going to have all 4 of my children together for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and all the way through to New Year's. And this was because Graham was choosing to go away with his wife on holiday, and usually for the whole of my life with Liam and Daniel, it had been either mine Christmas Eve, go to Dad's Christmas Day, come back to mine Boxing Day, and then Graham would be at work. Then either Christmas, New Year's Eve or Christmas Day. So for years I've never been able to just go through Christmas Eve, which I've got my own traditions for my kids and things, and then into Christmas Day, and then let my kids just pass out Christmas Day and have Boxing Day, which is Panto Day, and into all of those things. I've never been able to have that. I've never been able to go away or go to anybody's, because I've always got to drop my kids off with their dad, and they go to their dad's families and Cara's families. And this was the first year, and not just to have Liam and Daniel, but it was going to be so fun because Aaron was turning 4 in February, and Faith would have been turning 3 in April, and we had this whole plan. We knew as a family what we were doing, we knew what we were up to, and all of a sudden it classes me as living homeless, but I will show you in this pack now that this is all of the receipts. This is all of the receipts. I don't want to start getting things out because I know what will happen. But this is basically all of the receipts. So down there is the Ramada Hotel, yeah, at London Docklands. And this is for a double suite, non-smoking, on the 4th to the 10th to the 12th, 6th, yeah. And the bill, obviously paid for. And then in here I have every bill. And there's the Pontins ones. In fact, let me just take these out because nobody's ever actually really seen this. So basically, I was living in private rental, and I was due to move down south to be close to my family. And my mum sent me a really nasty message saying I'd stolen a chain that her boyfriend had given her. And it wasn't true. A chain she found, by the way. And I was like, fuck me, I'm meant to be moving down south, and when my mum or my family are like that, they get really nasty, mate. And I was like, I've given up my notice on where I am, and I'm meant to be going down south, and I'd already been down to look at schools, spoke to the council about, you know, how it would work if I went in, and blah blah blah. I really thought that we would go to my mum's, there was enough room, and then we would literally build from there, and you know, but obviously that was like getting that phone call. So I contacted my landlord and said, look, I don't need to move now. And my landlord said, well, we've already sold the house. They were both selling up their houses because they were rented both to move in. She'd moved into his, so they were selling both to move into their own home. And this is where I'd had the childminder. And I'd made a really big leap of faith because I had to go on a course for a weekend, and I asked my childminder how much it would cost me for a weekend childcare, and I think it was something like £800. I've got it all in here. And I went and I did it, and she had my kids, Aaron and Faith, for the weekend. Now officially I could have left them with Liam, with Beth being the overseer if there was any problems, Daniel floating because he'd have been with his dad. Graham would have definitely have been there if there'd been a fucking emergency mate for me to have got back from Birmingham or Warwick. Karen would have definitely have been there for an emergency, and I had a whole load of people as an emergency. But I didn't feel that Liam doing it for Aaron and Faith, who were 3 and 2 at the time, I didn't feel that for a weekend it was right to do that because he was only 15. Now, had it been an emergency and I'd been taken into hospital, then Liam is a 24-hour emergency, as in, like, if I'm in a shop and he's there, or I'm at home and he's there, he can literally remain with them children at 15 at that time. He would have to have rang Beth immediately, who was over 18, to say he was home alone with the kids. Once she was finished with what she was doing, whether it was college or work, then she would then attend straight away. But at the same time, he would notify Sue, who was an adult. She was actually a registered foster carer, but nothing to do with us. She was my personal friend who became a foster carer during knowing me. So she would have to have dropped everything, and then she would have been appointed by social care to have taken the children from my house, to have had them at hers. But Beth was appointed to remain at my house with Liam and stay overnight. Now, this particular weekend, it wasn't an emergency, and I didn't feel that I could put on the people who were helping me out for me to go to work. And they weren't available on this weekend anyway. So I thought, well, okay, cool, all right, £800 for childcare. Now, with Elijah and Shiloh, if I wanted to put Elijah and Shiloh into childcare, I would have to put up the first month anyway, which would be more than £800. It'd be about £1,200, probably even more down here in the south. I can't remember now, but I'd have to put that first month up anyway. When you only get £800 a month, as I am now, £807, that's not exactly something you're going to be able to do, is it? So basically, I went and did the course, came back, and the very first day that I was running with it, that was it, everything was good to go. Bang, she rang me to say her son was sick and she couldn't have my children. A whole week, and I still had to pay a reserve while her son was sick. So then I couldn't afford to keep the reserve and pay her while her son was sick, and the fact that I had the children with me, so I was back in the children's centre, back in the play zone, trying to work. This was for Challenge Britain and my book and my speaking. So this was my workshops, seminars, events, and something that I took bigger than conferences. And I made into a conference that I wanted to bring Parliament into this room. To this day, the woman who owns Success Resources, because I saw him in Birmingham last year, I said, do it. You're going to have to mix business with pleasure. You're going to have to mix politics and business. She said it will never work. I said, you're going to have to. I said, trust me, it will work. You're going to have to. You're going to have to make all of these people that are leading us have to go through this same process. She was like, they'll never go for it. I said, they're going to have to. So anyway, because it failed to move down south, I ended up having to go for well, initially I stayed in a travel lodge while I decided what to do. I packed up my house. Oh no, first of all, I tried to apply for a property, private rental again. And my default, my credit score failed. And I was like, why has my credit score failed? Like, there's nothing wrong with my credit score because I'm very clever with my credit score. I know exactly how to maintain and keep my credit score growing. And I went onto my credit score, and all of a sudden there was a Provident loan on it. None of the bills had been paid that should have been paid.